Welcome to Journey Through the Gate, your paranormal portal podcast, as we delve into the many questions and wonders brought on by the supernatural experience. What's on the other side of the gate? Let's find out together.
That's for all of you. Hello, all you beautiful people in this chat. I see all my wonderful mods here. I see Black Ops mods. I see gatekeepers. I see new people. I see people I haven't seen here in a while, but I have somebody else I want to say hi to first. Let's bring him in here. My buddy, my pal. Oh, and he just skipped out on me. What we have is... Nope, there he is. Here he is. Are you there, buddy? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I got you. How you doing, my friend?
Something's going on with my camera. It keeps cutting in and out.
That's okay.
I'm doing good. Hello, everybody.
Gosh, I love the lantern in the background. I'm so jealous. You have the best toys.
I got two of them. You can have the other one if you want.
Oh, wow. It's so nice. I like it. It's just a real mood setter. It's like maybe we could tell some campfire stories tonight, huh?
There you go.
Yeah. So, hello, everybody. I have my first... absolute, we're going to bring in Grace Lilly here. Thank you so much for the $10 super chat. Absolutely starting this show off on a grand scale. Thank you so much. It is very much appreciated, and it'll be absolutely used for this show, and we appreciate you. Thank you for being here tonight. We've got a lot of people in here tonight, Steve.
Yeah, I've got some special friends I want to say hi to. There's Bubbles Butterfly.
Hello.
And then there's Amy, my friend and number one fan and secret crush, but don't tell anybody.
I won't tell anybody.
There goes my camera, I think.
That's okay. It's going in and out. I think everything's a little, I think we've got Ghosts in the Machine, Steve.
Definitely Mercury in retrograde or something there.
Hello, Donnie Cho. Hello. He says, hello, Lady Cisco and Lord Stockton. Oh, gosh. That's like, we're definitely not royalty. Are you blinking in and out? Or you got a loose cable? Yeah. You got a short going on there?
I checked the cables and everything is just fine. I have no idea. I restarted everything.
What's that they used to say? Do you have a kink in your ginny? Is that what they used to say? I don't even know. This is going to be a crazy show. Guys, I'll tell you what. I had a whole nother show planned and something happened to all the videos. They said yes, and then they said maybe, and then they said So last minute.
Is Carrie Frager here?
I don't know.
She was asking me about the show title. She said the old sneaker, and I said, "Don't worry, they're not talking about any of your private parts."
Oh, see. Now wait a minute. Who's going around calling their private parts an old sneaker? You're gonna have to explain that one.
Apparently, Carrie. I don't know.
Oh my goodness, my old sneaker.
She dared me. She said, "You won't say that on the show." I just did.
Oh, don't dare, Steve. Don't dare me either, because it'll happen. Old sneaker, really? I'm trying to think of the old sneaker. I could get in trouble here, but I'm thinking of all the different chats. Does that make sense to you? I don't know. Anybody out there calling your junk or whatever you want to call it?
An old sneaker.
An old sneaker. I'm trying to think. Is it a high top? Is it a tenny? Like I don't know. I might not be afraid to say.
I would imagine it's well worn and has a nice fit. I
No,
don't know.
I told you we are gonna get in trouble. We can keep going.
Yeah, we
We can
need to
keep
move
going. We
along.
need to move
Move
along.
along.
Move along. Sneakers, shoelaces tied up. Da-da.
Tied up and shit.
Oh my. Okay. Let's get off of that one.
Hey,
Monica
there's Monica
Davis, welcome
Devias.
in.
How you doing
Welcome
there?
in. Welcome
Oh,
in, Sean.
there
Welcome
we
in. There
go.
goes your camera again. Cassie, hi,
Yeah.
sweetheart. Hey, Blue. How you doing?
Boy, that's annoying.
Bubbles, plenty. I'm so glad to meet you, Bubbles. Carrie's here. Hello. Steve, I
There's
love you.
Carrie.
Hang
Yep.
on. Let's see here. Steve, I love you so damn much, even though you stink like old sneakers, does he?
As long as
No,
it's
he
not your
doesn't.
old sneaker that I smell
No, he
like
doesn't.
that.
You know, speaking of old sneakers, let's see what road to go down. What road to go down? I wanted to mention. So many people are asking me for nerves. You know, I didn't plan to go down this road, but let's take it and see where it leads us, Steve. Just where I ain't scared. You scared? I'm not scared. We're
I
going
ain't
together.
scared.
We're fine. We've seen some shit. We're not worried. So you get to thinking of where that old saying comes from, and I know we've talked about it before. Stay calm, drink tea. Now, I don't know if you guys, Mairead, all of our UK friends and people out that way, um, we know about you guys and your tea like us and our coffee. I don't know what it is. It's so funny, isn't it? But that saying does come from during the war. They used to drink a lot of herbal teas like chamomile, things like that. But they really got popular was valerian root tea and skullcap tea. Now, I've had a couple of people this week ask me, it can't be a coincidence because they don't know each other, and just out of the blue asking me for different things like that, you know, for better sleep and steady the nerves, and just, you know, Mercury is this and the blood on the moon and just so many different things going on. So I got to thinking about valerian root a lot and skullcap, and chamomile's really nice, and chamomile actually even has some energy. You know, it fights off some low grade things, like if it's a mild virus or mild cold. You know, like you have wide spectrum antibiotics that'll just like knock out everything, and then you've got some that are more pinpoint. Herbs are the same. So chamomile is more of a mild, and catnip is even. But every time I talk about valerian root, I highly recommend it. Always best in a tincture or tea because it's just stronger that way. It makes perfect sense when you think about it. It's not a complicated thing, really. But it smells like boiled gym socks. It really does. And you said
Again,
that.
Kari, we're not talking about you.
Nope. And the thing, there's an added benefit though. While some people would think it's a benefit and some people would think it'd be a curse, is cats are extremely drawn to valerian root. I don't know. Does anybody here know what I'm talking about? Has anybody ever opened valerian root tea around a cat and they just get up out of a dead sleep and just wow, and just start what's going on? More so than catnip even. Catnip, you kind of almost have to grind to get them to really pay attention, and then they're on it. You know, unless it's really fresh. But valerian root, same thing. And I wanted to ask you, Steve, had you ever heard that the old thing about St. Patrick going through and leading the rats and snakes and all this other stuff and the little kids and all that kind of thing? I've also heard it was cats as well, or somebody. There's a legend somewhere that they were leading cats in or out of a town using valerian root in their pockets and dropping it along the way. Have you ever heard
Yeah,
that
I've
one?
heard that. Supposedly, that's how St. Patrick drove the snakes out of Ireland, and I think he did take other animals with him. And then, of course, there's the old German legend of the Pied Piper of Hamelin that led the children and animals and things out of the area and held them for ransom. And maybe he had a pocket full of valerian.
Could have been. But I didn't believe it until I opened a can of valerian root, and it was like 3 or 4 cats in the kitchen. And I that's when I was in Alabama, and I was fostering a lot of different animals. But anyway, it's true. They will knock you down for valerian root. So just so you know that. But yes, anybody out there looking for stress. I'm also drinking a tea now. I'm trying it out. It's got a lot of that in it. It's not real strong though, and anything that's processed, you're going to lose some of its kick, a lot of its kick. You know, so go dry bulk herb. Always, grow it fresh. This is the rule. Either grow it fresh, away from a road, away from pollution and all that stuff, and harvest it yourself organically. If you can't do that, get dry bulk. If you can't get that, get a really good herbal tea that at least treats the stuff the right way so it doesn't kill the good properties in it. So there it is about valerian root, and I don't know how we got on that, but I think it was your old boiled sneaker or old sneaker thing.
Boiled
That's so
sneaker.
funny.
There we go.
That's so funny.
Um, and I've heard that if you take valerian in a strong enough concentration, that it causes some interesting auditory hallucinations. There was
It
a
can.
witchy herb shop that I used to go to in East Tennessee, and the lady there recommended it for
Mm.
like these spirit journeys, where you drink a strong enough tea, you
Mm-hmm.
will hear things, apparently,
Mm-hmm.
if you can stay awake. That's the trick.
Mm-hmm.
You have to stay awake.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. Well, it will. Jose was answering us about the druids there. It can. I mean, it's like anything. You take too much. We used to gather. Skullcap would grow wild in Tennessee and Alabama and a lot of your southern states like that, and in some sparsely throughout. I mean, I'm just not going to say it's up in Canada or the northern places. I don't know. Never been there. Don't know that much about it, but it used to be so plentiful that you could go out and grab it by the handfuls out in just the wood line, throw it in a bag, and then you come by and throw it in handfuls into the powwow fire. And the smoke is like a heavy smoke, and it lays a little low. You know what I mean? And it goes out, and it started hitting all the kids that were running all rambunctious. Man, I'm tired. I'm going back to the tent to go to sleep. About 20 minutes after that, you sit around and have a conversation because all the screaming and hollering stopped because all the kids went to bed. It's a little trick. Skullcap really is that strong.
Donnie Cho's got a question there. Are Venus flytraps an effective defense against flies in the home? Yes and no. Yes, if you have very few flies or if you have a lot of Venus flytraps. Because each one of those little buds that close, they'll only get one fly at a time, and then it takes them a while to digest it, do whatever they do with it, and open back up. So
it's real slow, isn't it, Steve?
yeah,
It's real slow.
And
Yeah.
there we go. And not
What's going on? You got a loose
wait for
wire,
me.
my friend.
Yeah, there's something going on.
That's not the
I'm-
first time I've told you that.
yeah, I say I've heard that before. I'm going to shut my camera off and reboot just the camera. That's
All
an
right.
iPhone 13 Pro Max that I use as a webcam. It shouldn't have any problems. So give
It
me
shouldn't
just
be
a
any
moment
problems.
here.
You do whatever you need to do. I'm going to see if there's questions in the chat
And
here. Again,
I'll still be on the mic here. I'm just going to start
you
this.
can hear me. I think we
iPhone.
missed some good questions. I know there's a lot about the snakes. Hold on. Bear with me, guys. Do some music. Play that song, that Jeopardy song in your head, Do, 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 do. Bubbles Butterfly, hello, beautiful people. Hello, Bubbles. You're beautiful as well. Thank you for being here.
I don't know if they're edible, Johnny.
What? What's
You know,
edible?
Venus flytraps.
Oh,
I killed mine one time. I had thought it was fun to
Oh, that's
trip the
sad.
little hairs in there and make them close. But if you do that enough and they're not getting anything to eat, they will die. I killed mine
That's
when I was a
horrible.
kid.
how
Didn't mean
horrible.
to.
I had a bad experience with sea monkeys, too. I don't want to talk
I was
about
just
it.
gonna, just
I don't
thinking
wanna
of that.
talk
I
about it.
killed a bunch of sea monkeys too, and my
I
mom
don't wanna
claimed
talk
that
about it.
was why her plants out on the back veranda died because she'd read somewhere that plants can tell suffering and things like that, and she said that my sea monkeys screaming in their death throes killed her plants.
I
I
had
simply forgot about them, and I came back and they were dried up.
I was married to somebody who had some evil undertones, and he knew I loved this plant, and he used to curse at it every day and scream at it until it was ugly, and it died. I never forgave him for it either. So everything that came 10 years after that totally deserved to kill my plant. Stepped over the line, man. Isn't that just mean, though? To
Yeah.
do something like
To
that? Just
purposefully
I
kill
mean, what are you
somebody's
doing?
plants.
Are you kicking dogs? Are what else are you doing? Because if you're doing that, you're doing other things. Seriously, that'll tell somebody about you. That's how you do it, everybody. When you're just dating, get a plant, and if the plant dies, get rid of the person, and get another plant. That's the best advice we've ever gave anybody, Steve. That's not
Plants
dating
and
advice.
animals. Animals have a really good judge of character.
I'll tell you what. I think we're onto something. I think that plant thing could hold some water, man. Um, wait a
Sea
minute. Wait a
monkeys,
minute.
not so
Bubbles is
much.
asking about. Yeah, I can't divulge my sea monkey story.
They
I don't
are
know what's
indeed
the
real.
what
They're
is the
brine shrimp, is what they are, and they're sort of in the state of suspended animation.
yeah
You order the sea monkeys, you put those little
freeze dried.
freeze dried things in the water. There's a preparation that you put in there with them. They will come to life.
There
They
you
will
go.
swim around. They don't get really big. They don't look
If you
anything like they do on the
No, but
comic
if
book
you,
ads.
I have heard from valid sources, Steve, that if you treat it right and you say the right things and do all the right things in order as per the pamphlet, that
Mhm.
they will put on a suit and go to work.
I don't know about
And
that.
get the briefcase.
But
He's got the briefcase.
and
Goes to
you
work.
said you
Comes
can
home.
train them and teach them tricks and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah. Jump through hoops like
Well,
circus monkeys.
the tricks they know. There goes again. The
It's
tricks
okay.
they know are
Yep.
if you sprinkle food over the top of the bowl, they'll swim up to it like a goldfish.
Yep.
And then
I
the
had a
other thing,
blind
if
fish
you
that would do
shine a
that.
light in the side of the bowl, they'll come toward the light. And again, that's just like
Just like people.
yeah, that's
Go
what I
go
said,
to
Chris.
light,
They're brine shrimp, and it's like the
Carolyn.
little eggs or freeze dried things, whatever. They were alive, and then they're not, and then they're alive again.
Yep, yep. It's a miracle. It's a downright miracle for $2.98, and it came with its own little
A little
plastic housing,
little castle, a
yellow
plastic castle,
castle.
sea
It
monkey
was.
food.
We had the shit, Steve. We had pet rocks. I'll
Yeah.
never forget the day. I remember it like it was yesterday when I was reading the box and I said, if you throw it in the tub and teach it to swim, and that's the day I realized that they can put anything on a box and sell it to you, especially at the Spencer's down at the local mall. You
And
know,
I had we're talking about
advertising doesn't have to be truthful.
those shrimp being in a state of suspended animation. One time when I was a kid, I was deviling some ants, and there was some kind of weird black ant that I'd never seen before. I, Normally, you drop an ant like in a glass of water, it swims and kicks around. I was playing ant rescue. I would drop them in the water and then save them. Well, I dropped this
And
one ant
rescue.
in the water, big black, looked like an army ant type thing. It sank straight to the bottom, and I thought, well, boy, that was quick. That I drowned him. I didn't even mean to. I felt bad
Oh
about it.
my God.
So I was playing with the other ants, and he's still sitting on the bottom there. And I kind of forgot about him. And then a day or two later, I went to pour that water out. The ant was still sitting in the bottom of that peanut butter jar that I had. Well, when I poured it out and he was out of the water, he slowly came back. And he had been in that water for like at least 3 days, 4 days.
Oh my gosh. It's
So
like a
that
super
ant
ant.
has some kind of, special
It's
thing
special
that
ant.
it can hibernate even underwater.
Oh my gosh. I don't know. There's so much to unpack there, Steve. What were you doing? Ant rescue, first of all. This was an actual
Well, I
game
would
that you had of
throw them
your
in the
own.
water and then rescue them, with a toothpick or whatever I
Yeah.
could. I was
Wow.
the hero of the ants. Of course, I
Yeah.
was the one that put them in danger anyway. But
Can you imagine the ants' perspective now? From their vantage point, here comes that some bitch again.
and I was like
He's
all
gonna
of 8
drown
years
us in
old.
water.
So
This guy's gonna come here and torture us, do the water torture, and they're all running. Save yourself! Save yourself! Oh my God, that's terrible. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to. That brought back so many memories for me too. The stuff that you used to do just walking along. I remember one time the stuff again that we used to do, and then we watched true crime and watch missing persons, the missing persons channel, and we tell all these ghost stories and everything. I think all the things that could have happened to me, but I was miles from my house, rural. Just walking like a kid can, like an 11-year-old, healthy 11-year-old kid can walk till they're tired, and then they realize, being a kid, now you got to go back. You're in trouble. But I was up there where they had hunting cabins. I'm walking around inside these hunting cabins and not horse heads, but deer heads and stuff on the walls, and bears, and like all the taxidermy stuff, and anything could have happened out there. I mean, it seems like I was gone all day.
Ronnie
But
C says I may be slightly twisted, just a little bit.
yeah, we're all a little twisted. We're all
That's
a
when I
little
was a kid. I was a very twisted little kid. I was. We lived out in the country, no near neighbors. I was raised as an only. My only brother was 17 years older than me, so he was married, moved out, and gone by the time I was cognizant of anything.
Yeah.
I had to make my own fun, and one of that
Same
was
here.
ant
Same here.
rescue.
Same here. That makes sense. I
And you
mean,
couldn't rescue them unless they're in peril, so you stick them
you
in the
had to
water,
put.
and then you
You created
throw
the
them out.
peril. You have to create the peril. It's absolutely understandable. I mean, something else, man.
I fed them too. I put sugar
Yeah.
and accidentally a couple times lollipops out there for them.
Steve giveth and he taketh away.
Well, they did. They worshiped me.
At
Here
least you,
he
at
comes,
least
you
you're not
know.
telling me you're out there with the magnifying glasses frying ants.
Yeah,
I mean,
never
and all
had
those little things
I had
that.
cousins that would do that with butterflies
Oh
and
my
stuff, but I
gosh.
just never had the urge to kill anything. I shot one squirrel, and that just did me. And I was a little kid. I'd gotten
Yep.
a 22
Wasn't
bolt
my thing.
action single shot Winchester rifle for Christmas, and I'd taken it over to my grandmother's to do some target practice. And there was a squirrel up in the top of a tree, a little ways away. My dad said, "See if you can hit that squirrel." So I was a good shot back then. I pulled it up, kapow, squirrel fell out, and it did something to me. I never had the heart to kill any animal after
Man,
that. I
me
never
either.
went hunting or anything.
Mm-mm.
That was it.
Mm-mm.
Shot one squirrel
Mm-mm.
my entire life. And
Mm.
I just thought, I could think of his poor little squirrel. He didn't know what
Yeah.
hit him, didn't feel any pain because
I'm
like
not
I said, I
even a
was a
big
good
fan
shot.
of
But still,
fishing, even. I mean,
yeah,
I do it. I mean, I just go into
I
just
don't
be
have the
my other
patience to
person.
fish. I'd rather read a
Yeah.
book.
Oh, me too. I second that emotion. That's
There you
absolutely
go.
true.
Bubbles Butterfly, my nephew shot a deer and killed it when he was 16 or 17. He cried like a baby.
Hmm.
That was me at, I was 7 years old, 8 years old, something like
Yeah.
that.
It reminds me of the Andy Griffith where little Ronnie, what's his face, shot the
Ronnie,
bird.
Ronnie
Shot,
Howard. Yeah.
yeah, shot the mama bird, and Andy Griffith made him lay in bed and listen to the babies cry all night long till he broke.
Yeah.
Oh my God, what a horrific episode that was. I mean, that just scarred me for life. It's something else. But anyhow, gosh, show's over.
Now,
I
Blue
don't even know what
Crossroads
we're talking
said
about tonight.
ants breathe through their skin, convert the oxygen through their organs. They do not have lungs. Whatever
There you
this
go.
one did, it
The
breathed oxygen through
exoskeleton.
its skin in the water, then at the bottom of
Mm.
a peanut butter jar.
Maybe it just squeezed its skin like a fist and just
But
did
it
those
was in
little.
there. I know it was at least 3 days because I'm.
Oh my gosh, we used to do this thing. This reminds me. I have to tell you this because you'll get a kick out of this at a bar. If you want to win a beer. I never liked a lot of gambling because we had a lot of that gambling. We're very addictive personalities in our gene pool. I'm telling you. So I was never big on gambling, but I'll bet you a beer or gentleman's bet or $5 or something like that. So we'd sit at the bar. I know you're bored, and you got this, new person sitting next to you. I said, "Hey, man, I know a little trick with the fly. You know the trick I'm talking about with the fly? You get a fly and you catch it,
And
and you drowned it, and then
Oh,
you can
okay.
put salt all over it, and it dries it out, and it'll come back, which is also
Yeah.
just about the same speed as the ant thing, I guess.
Yeah, I was
But
Lord of the Ants. I've
Lord
heard
of the Ants,
Lord of the Dance. I was
yeah.
Lord of the Ants.
Yep. I got a couple of beers that way. You'll do just about anything. When you're sitting at a bar for like a couple hours, the weird stuff, the stories you hear, and it can be an experience. That's for sure. But anyhow, tonight I just wanted to pull out some odds and ends. I've got a cool story about a sneaker, and it was one of the ones I told you a long time ago that I had seen. This story, and it stuck in my head. Those ones you never quite forget. It was Telly Savalas was one of those.
Yeah.
We could never quite, it was always there. It would pop up into conversations. This is one of them, and I bet y'all were looking at the episode art tonight and wondering what the heck with the sneaker. But when you see this story, this one sneaker is really going to change. I don't want to say it's going to change your perspective, but it's definitely going to give you food for thought to think about changing perspective, because this one is so out there. And it also has an underlying story of people being pulled to do something. We've all been there. I'm really drawn to Gettysburg. I'm going to go and see what happens. I'm really drawn to go here. Take a left instead of the right, and you find out you had that reason. That prophetic almost intuition that's driving you to do something. And this woman, she had a a drive to pursue this thing, and it really changed her. And therefore, like the pebble in the pond, her ripples changed so many other people and helped them. And I think by sharing this story tonight, we might help somebody out there too, or at least give you food for thought, like I said, about thinking about what a near-death experience is like, what an NDE, as people say. Now, I found out today that NDE was actually, that whole phrase, near-death experience, was coined by Dr. Raymond Moody. And I did not know that. And he has had a lifetime. I know you know him, Steve.
Oh, yeah.
A lifetime of being in here, very much like Harry Price and Peter Underwood and the other people that have kind of like interwoven over the past, like, 50 years, or decades, even past that, and they're still here, or their work is still active. And Moody's definitely is. And I've got a little clip of him, and something he was really excited to tell us about. So that's what I have for you tonight. Whatever it sparks after that, great. I hope you enjoy the story. The Old Sneaker, man. It's really a good one. You ready, Steve?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
Roll
sweet.
that beautiful bean footage.
We're going to do it. I hope this is the right one. Well, we're used to it being the wrong one. If not, we'll fix it. It's the right one.
There's a common theme that seems to run through the stories told by people who confront the moment of death and then come back. They talk of a floating out-of-body experience, of a brilliant white glow, of a strange peace of mind that envelops them in their final moment. But in the case of a migrant farm worker named Maria, something ridiculously mundane happened. She saw something, and the simple thing she saw changed a young medical professional's life forever.
First, it is a story of a shoe. An ordinary shoe in an extraordinary circumstance. It was a tennis shoe, the canvas type, well worn with laces that came all the way up to the top. It was dark blue but faded, and it was heavily scuffed along its side in the area of the little toe. One of its laces draped over the side and ran under its heel. The shoe was in no way exceptional, except in its location. It sat there precariously, high above ground, on a ledge on the 3rd story of Harborview Hospital in the city of Seattle, in the state of Washington. And its existence changed the life of this woman. She is the second part of the story. Her name is Kimberly Clark Sharp. She's an eminent medical professional in the United States. She's a mother with a master's degree in medical social work and is a faculty member at the University of Washington, an associate professor lecturing second-year medical students about issues of death and dying. The incident that links Kimberly Clark Sharp to the old shoe happened 17 years ago. It set her on a life course that went against everything she had been raised to believe.
I was not brought up to believe something like this. This wasn't, the closest I got to anything like this was maybe as a child hearing fairy tales. Brought up to believe something like this. This wasn't, the closest I got to anything like this was maybe as a child hearing fairy tales. In fact, my parents to this day think that I'm committing career suicide to even be in this, except that my career has flourished. So.
On the other hand, there are those in medical circles who regard Kim Sharp as one of the world's most astute authorities on near-death experiences. Aside from her traditional medical career, she is head of the Northwest chapter of the International Association of Near-Death Studies. Since the day she first saw the worn tennis shoe, she has recounted and recorded the near-death experiences of hundreds of patients who have gone beyond the brink of life and returned to tell incredible stories. But to this day, she remains most deeply affected by the story of a woman who had double cardiac arrest and returned to life in the intensive care ward of Harborview Hospital. The woman was a migrant worker named Maria. It was April 1976.
She had come to the big city for the first time, to the city of Seattle, had a massive heart attack.
As doctors fought to save Maria, her heart stopped for several minutes. It was a near miracle in itself that the doctors brought her back.
What she told me was that when she calmed down, was that during her resuscitation, she had found herself at the ceiling level, and she pointed to the corner of the ceiling where she could look down and observe her own resuscitation.
And then she told Kim Sharp the story of the old shoe.
She felt like she was about 3 stories above the ground. And she is looking at a tennis shoe that's sitting on a ledge. She said the tennis shoe was dark blue, very worn, that there was a scruff placed by the little toe, and that she saw the lace going under the heel. And the reason she was agitated, the reason that she wanted to see somebody, is because she wanted someone to get the shoe.
There was no shoe on the ledge outside of Maria's window, but Kim Sharp was curious enough to look further.
So I start going from room to room to room, looking down on the ledges, so that I can go back to Maria and tell her that I have really done a thorough search.
But on the opposite side of the hospital, on a different floor altogether, Kim Sharp saw something.
I walked into one room, and this is such a vivid memory for me, because I remember the window. I remember walking to the window getting closer to me. The view was to the west. I had looked in many windows by this point and not seen anything. I looked down, and to my shock, my utter shock, there was a tennis shoe. It was dark blue. It was beat up. Now, from my perspective, looking down, I couldn't see the little toe area. The little toe area was on the outside of the building, not towards the building at all. I could see the tip of the lace coming out from under the heel. I had to presume that someplace on the outside of the shoe there was a continuum. There was a lace that indeed went under the shoe in order for me to see what was coming out. I could not believe my eyes. I opened the window and reached down and plucked out the shoe.
Maria's description of the shoe had been accurate to the last intricate detail, all the way down to the scuffed area of the left toe. There were no other buildings on that side of the hospital.
She felt like she was about 3 stories above the ground. And she is looking at a tennis shoe that's sitting on a ledge. She said the tennis shoe was dark blue, very worn, that there was a scruff placed by the little toe, and that she saw the lace going under the heel. And the reason she was agitated, the reason that she wanted to see somebody, is because she wanted someone to get the shoe.
There was no shoe on the ledge outside of Maria's window, but Kim Sharp was curious enough to look further.
I start going from room to room to room, looking down on the ledges, so that I can go back to Maria and tell her that I have really done a thorough search.
But on the opposite side of the hospital, on a different floor altogether, Kim Sharp saw something.
I walked into one room, and this is such a vivid memory for me, because I remember the window. I remember
Deja vu.
walking to
Didn't
the
we just hear
window,
this
the window
part?
getting closer to me. The view was to the west.
I think it glitched.
I had
think we
looked in
glitched,
many
babe.
windows by this point. And the area was on the outside.
Sorry, hold
Plucked
on.
out the shoe.
She's plucking the shoe again.
Maria's
Hold on.
description of the shoe had been or from anywhere
go.
inside the hospital.
I took the shoe. I went back to Marie, but I put it behind my back. And then I brought the shoe around and showed her. And we both began to cry and hug. And it was a very emotional moment. It was like a miracle had happened, and I had had the privilege of being a part of this.
What a cool little story.
Isn't it? Don't feed the ghosts, people. Keep those candles lit. Little crispy. I just love that song. It's so pretty. That's Brian Bolger, I believe. So yeah, what a cool story, right?
Yep,
She goes and she finds that exact sneaker. And now, what are the chances of that? And if she didn't keep up and keep looking for it, I mean, most people would have blown it off.
right. But I still want to know, how did it get on the ledge,
Yeah.
even in another part of the hospital?
I don't
I don't
know.
know the story behind the story.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I was wondering that myself too, because a lot of times those windows don't open enough for somebody to put something like that out there. And I have those sneakers, by the way, except mine are black. You know, that's a good old Converse high top. But yeah, I don't know. But boy, it just ripples out. I mean, that story's old. I mean, that show was early. I want to say it probably happened in the 80s. It was shown in the early 90s. But still, that's amazing. And how many people she went off to help that had NDEs or just wanted a little validation. You know, I wonder how many times she told the story about the old sneaker. Now, you and I have heard a lot of NDEs. I think the best one I ever heard was Daniel Brinkley's story. He got hit 3 times by lightning. 3 times, and had 3 NDEs. I don't know of anybody that's had more. And I mean, if they're out there, I'm sure they're out there, but I've just never heard of them. And he was the one who would tell about the first time he went, he came back and he was a little changed, but he went right back to his old ways again. He was a hard case, he says. But by the 3rd time, he was just like, okay, this is old hat. I'm doing it this time. I've got it. And he really, really learned from the pain and suffering he had caused others the most. And the one that flipped him and changed him was a story about a dog he had hit, and he was in too big of a hurry to go to the party he was headed towards and didn't go back and check on it. And he said what that dog went through was what broke him and flipped him and made him come back a better person, changed his entire outlook on everything. And
Yep,
he's been
indeed.
helping people ever since. So I can imagine something like this. I don't know how it couldn't change you. You know, when you have something like that. No matter the experience, Steve. You know, most of them are what? The tunnel with the light.
The light. And you hope it's not an oncoming train. Hey, Tara Olivia is here. Another one of mine. She says,
Hello,
hi,
hello.
friends. She and I are going to be working together on the new Missing in Person Mysteries True Crime channel that's about to launch soon.
Yes,
Steve
congratulations. It's going to
Stockton's
be great.
True Crime Case Files.
That's going to be
Tara's
great.
going to be helping me with the narration duties over there. If you've ever seen the movie My Friend Dahmer, she's in it.
Oh,
She's
really?
a very good actress and
I have not watched it, but
voiceover
it's
artist.
amazing.
But watch it; it's a good movie.
That is absolutely amazing. So, what do y'all think about the sneaker and NDEs? I think it really does. I think a lot of it comes down to the individual, just like all of this.
And I think it was that one thing, because there probably wasn't anything else anywhere in that hospital that would have been unique enough to say, yeah, I saw this or that. I
That
saw
proved
a
it.
stethoscope, I saw a stomach pump, I
Yeah.
saw, whatever.
The
But a
doctor's
sneaker
working
on
on
the
you.
window ledge, that's,
Incredible.
that's a one in a million.
Incredible. I know one lady that convinced her doctor that because she saw the bald spot on the back of his head. I mean, he still had all the little cap and everything else, but she could tell he was bald. And, little things like that, or something somebody says, like one of your, yeah, don't go into the light, Carol Ann Palmer says. But, it's sometimes if you can get that little thing that convinces them, like, how would she know that if she hadn't been out of her body and looking down? Or, I've heard many that went down
And from three
the
stories
halls.
up, she's looking down. She saw a lot of detail for being 3 stories up, too.
Yeah, yeah,
That's what,
incredible.
30 feet or something like that at least?
Right. Now that's possible because they say everything is more vivid when you start getting to that stage. And, you hear people talking about how the colors are, extra bright. And, you hear a music. I actually got that part. I had a very short one when I was actually drowning. I've told you that story. It's actually in the
Yeah.
book. Much more detailed. It's in the book. But, I did hear a music that wasn't quite singing and it wasn't quite instruments. It was something in between, but I really wasn't paying much attention. I was a little distracted by watching my body getting, raked by the undertow and everything. Yeah. So it's wild what you bring back with you that you remember.
Tara says she's had an NDE. We'll have her come on the show sometime,
Yeah.
sort of introduce you to her, since she's going to be on the True Crime Channel with me.
Love to
Tara,
meet her.
sometime we'd love to hear your NDE.
Absolutely, absolutely. AJ's asking if you walk down a tunnel of white fog. The only other thing other than when I was drowning myself, I know you're asking Tara, but for myself, it reminds me of the dream, Steve, and I don't know if you remember the story, but it was after Gettysburg.
Mm-hmm.
Couple of weeks, I want to say, days, weeks, real close, right in there. And I'm sleeping. Basically, I have one of what I wouldn't call it lucid dreaming. Maybe you would, I don't know, but it was so vivid and it was so real, and you could smell and taste, much like I say when you have a visitation dream, like somebody that it's passed, that comes back in a dream to give you a message, or just to sometimes stand there and smile. It might not even be a big message or a big reveal or an unveiling, because it just seems like important changes when you get over on the other side. Your perspective, it seems, so the things that are real important to us that we're just jamming on, it doesn't matter the same to them for whatever reason. So I have this dream, and I'm walking down, like when you get off a plane and you're going down that people tunnel to get off and go into the airport. It was more like that. I can actually remember making that turn that you would turn to leave and go out the tunnel before you see the end of it. Mm-hmm. And there wasn't any other people in there with me, but it was kind of, I don't want to say foggy. I would have used the word blurry, or I'm not really focused on what was on the sides. It was just a tunnel. But it wasn't like white or light. It was more of a drab gray, that light gray of airport stuff, and I'm going out, and when I turn, that's when I notice there's something at the end. There's something standing in the light, and it's shadows of people in what I would say would be a fog or a mist, something thick and moving. So it's, very foggy looking. And the people that were closer to the opening of the tunnel, like they're standing there, like you're coming out and they're waiting for you. And the people that were closer were the ones that had color to their clothes. And then all the color just kind of faded out and became like one of this whole background of stuff. And as I'm focused on this one person, as I focus on them, that's when they become more vivid. And I can actually smell this guy. Never seen him before in my life, although his energy felt familiar. And the way he was dressed, I believe it was like overalls. It was definitely like a handmade looking shirt, like something you would say like Amish or old fashioned. And he took his hat off as I came towards him. He took his hat off and put it in his hand. And he reached, I wanted to just shake his hand. I was impulsed to just reach out and like, how you doing? You know? And I went to do that. And as he grabbed my hand, he pulled me in and he hugged me. And he smelled like fresh corn. I'll never forget it. If you've ever taken a cob of corn off a stalk, that green corn smell, it just hit me. And he whispered in my ear, and I'm like, do I know you? As he pulled me in, and he said, I met you in the field. I'll never forget it as long as I live. And he was one of the guys I think I crossed over in Gettysburg. And they were just letting me know that they had gotten over. That's how I took that. It went on a little bit more, and there was some other guys there. But, you know, he wasn't, if I was making it up, Steve, if my mind was making it up, wouldn't I have put him in a Civil War uniform?
You would think.
You know, I mean, if you were thinking Gettysburg, you know, and everything else, it seems like my mind would have portrayed it that way.
Yeah, and the fact that you didn't recognize him or know who he was, that it lends even more credence to it.
No clue who he was, but he felt familiar. Like I knew him, but I just didn't know, like, do I know you? Because I actually even said it, you know. That's a trip, right? But that's the only thing with the fog, and I wonder why mine was like more like mine had a hard right. You know, glad it wasn't a hard left. Could have wound up somewhere else, Steve, right? Who knows? But that was a
left
trip.
turn at Albuquerque.
I tell you that so you guys know that not everything is going to be the way you see other people have it. You're going to have your own twist on it, and I don't totally agree with Dr. Moody, since he's coming up next, about his take on it. You know, it'd be interesting to see how it was in the beginning and how it is, you know, how it got to be over a super long career. And extremely active, you know, throughout. Books, amazing amount of material he's put out. But how it must have changed, because he seemed like he had it together from the very beginning to me. You know, I'm just now revisiting the whole thing. I mean, he's always kind of been there, but I never really focused on him much, Steve, you know. What stands out to you about him? What do you know about him? Was it more the reincarnation stuff, or the spirit communication, or the astrological? What parts?
A
All of it?
little bit of all
Yeah,
the above,
yeah.
just a nice mix there. And that's the thing with a lot of this stuff. It's not often just one thing or the other. There's a nice melange in there of different things, different effects, and different circumstances going on at the same time. That just rounds out the experience and makes it that much more believable.
Bubbles here is saying something that actually reminded me of something, but let's read her comment here first. I have talked to 2 different people who had the same near-death experience. They were both in a field of flowers. Bubbles, amazing, because that's like a validation to me, because this afternoon, when I was looking at some of Mr. Moody's, Dr. Moody's lectures and things, there was a lady on there, and there was a lady and 2 men, and one of the men and the woman both said that as they came out of the tunnel, it opened into a field of flowers. And you know who it reminded me? It reminded me of our Tim Tim. We did that. The minute Steve had asked me about it, I saw a field of sunflowers. Now, there's nothing about Tim's character or anything like that would have told me. It's not like, you know, you go to his Facebook, there's a banner, you know. It wasn't anything to set it off. It was when Steve said it, I saw sunflowers. And as I was making that video, I thought to myself, wouldn't it be neat if that's how you arrive? It looked like the drone footage of seeing that field of sunflowers just really looked like, you know. And then all of a sudden I start seeing all these people actually saw that in their NDE. That's amazing, Bubbles. Thanks for dropping that. You know, it makes me think of, connects a whole lot of things for me, because I've heard that, you know. And I think with some people, it might be, you know, if you're a sailor, it might be the ocean.
Yeah.
You might be on a ship and sailing.
Sean G says during his NDE, he's in a field of wheat and flowers with a willow tree.
See there? See? And that is just so cool. And I'm imagining vivid and bright. And another thing that seemed extremely common, and I want to put this out there before I bring up this amazing little video here of Dr. Moody. So many I hear too don't get the light. And I don't want people to get that wrong. This is the thing I think it is at this time in my life. And we'll ask Steve what he thinks about it. If your NDE, you had one, or you know of somebody that had one, I know of several, that they didn't get the light. They got dark. And they've got like nothing but dark. And as soon as, you know, of course, I think it was more like startled and fear or whatever that may be, just trying to get that consciousness together. Like, whoa, I don't have a body. You know, what's going on here? But I'm still here. I'm still me. I'm still here. You get a little bit of that, but they look around and go, okay, well, where, you know, what's going on? Why is it so dark? And they start to remember the light. They start to think about the light. That's when it shows up. Any reference whatsoever in any of these people to the light or help or reaching out to somebody, a loved one's name or anything like that, any of that light connection seems to instantly change things. Steve, have you ever heard anything like that?
Yeah, that's very similar. Tara was just saying there in the chat that she saw herself laying in bed. She flowed out of her body and then through the ceiling. And she was looking down at herself laying in bed. That's another common one.
Yep.
When you haven't quite got to the tunnel yet. The only time I've ever had an out-of-body experience, it wasn't during an NDE or anything. It was when I was a kid. I apparently had fallen asleep on the couch, or thought I had. And then suddenly I was out in the yard, and I came back into the house. I'm wondering, what's going on? And then I saw myself asleep on the couch, but my back was to me. But when I saw myself, it was all of a sudden like, just like everything went together and I woke up.
Yes.
And I still believe that was an out-of-body experience.
That's incredible.
It just shocked me so much to see myself on the couch.
Right. You know, that's absolutely amazing the way you describe that, because the way you describe that reminded me of that last scene where Christopher Reeves is in Somewhere in Time, and he's not supposed to carry anything back from the
and he
future.
Sees that coin,
and he sees that penny, man.
Yeah, and then
and just
back.
like you said,
yeah,
and it was just pulled, but right back into it. Just that's incredible. And I just saw a thing for that the other day. This whole thing, all of these shows, they sometimes just happen. Like Steve and I say, they might be Sunday afternoon or something, or it might be Monday morning, who knows, Monday afternoon. So today I said, well, I don't know, we'll just get together, and who knows, we might just get drunk, because all my tech failed me and all kinds of other stuff. So I just got behind, and Steve never knows what we're going to do. But it seems, if you look back, there's this theme that's trying to get certain information out. And we go with it. We find out it's timely, and we're both having kind of those kind of things all through the week and stuff like that. That's what's been happening to me with these lucid dreamings, prophetic dreams, NDEs, connection to the light, connecting.
And another one I've heard, not necessarily people that almost died, but people that had some weird experience, usually in a bed or in a hospital bed, where they were laying down and they were looking up, and it was like there was people like up in a gallery looking down at them.
Wow, yeah.
I've heard several stories like that.
Wow.
There's people that obviously weren't there. There was no place in the ceiling for a viewing gallery to be, but they look up and see people in the ceiling looking down at them.
Wow.
So that makes you wonder. That was people that kind of think came close to an NDE, but not quite.
And so many stories too of people, there's I guess you would call it a cartoon. That's what we were raised to call them. I mean, even like Ziggy and Garfield and all that stuff, all that was cartoons, even if it wasn't telling a big story. But it was one out where the person's in the hospital bed, and it's all these people around waiting, and these people are saying goodbye, and these people are saying hello. A lot of times it's like that too. I mean, I know so many people in the medical field that say they were talking to somebody that wasn't there, and that actually happened with me. That's one of my early memories when my grandfather was sick. I was probably 5, somewhere around in there, and old enough to be running around being a pain in the butt, because I know I was in trouble a lot. I think most kids do get in trouble in those situations. You're hanging around in those waiting rooms and stuff, but nobody would listen to you. You'd get like those little things, like, the little quick stuff, and then they'd talk adult stuff. I remember a lot of that going on, and I remember talking to my grandfather and looking at him, and him, kind of, being there and not really there, and he would turn, he would like talk, and he would talk to this lady that was over on the side and sitting in the chair, and he didn't seem to do a whole lot of talking to my aunts and everybody that were hanging around, though, and they weren't talking to him either. They were talking about him to each other, like he wasn't there. And while they were doing that, he's having conversations with these people. And like I'm laughing, and he's winking at me and stuff like that, just what he could anyway. And I remember sometime during that, the adults were sitting having this conversation about how he's not long because he's talking to people who aren't there. And I remember grabbing a hold of somebody's sleeve and going, but they are there. They are there. They're all there. The lady, because they were saying, who's this lady from Hawaii? Well, I'll tell you what. From the Pacific, probably, but my granddaddy fought in the war, so there ain't no telling. We do have some hot blood on that side, so I don't know. But he kept saying that there was a lady there in a grass skirt and flowers and stuff, and I'm like, yeah, I saw her. And I just thought I was being a brat and shut me up, of course. And I think that happens to a lot of kids with abilities. And it makes me really, really sad, some of these things that these people go through. Like, I was looking at the Enfield poltergeist case that people say, I think that was the kids playing around. I think it was this. And I don't know what you guys know about that case, but it floors me when I revisit cases like that, Steve. And I wonder, we had all of these different cases, people are still questioning what's it going to, you know what I mean? What's it going to take for whoever we need to come out and say ghosts exist? I don't even know if that's what we're shooting for. Very much like everybody's looking for disclosure. We know aliens come on now. There's too much. Why are we waiting for these people to validate stuff? This community knows there's something going on in every direction, right? And I listen to people saying that about disclosure. Well, the government's going to disclose and say, finally admit there's aliens. Why do we need them to do that? We know they are. It's just, it's crazy. But the same thing with ghosts. I think a lot of times people are just trying to, whether these shows on TV or you get the battle between the scientists and the investigators, and they always seem to bust heads, and I don't understand why we can't click that together somehow and just walk as one on this journey and try to really find out what we're doing here and what we're doing wrong. Because obviously if we're still hurting each other, we're probably doing something wrong, right?
Indeed.
So there's that. Let's see what Dr. Moody has to say. Unless you wanted to say something on that, Steve.
No, I think you pretty much covered it there, and I agree with you.
I covered it in 3 coats of paint, didn't I, baby?
There you go.
Expect
shot a coat of primer and then 3 coats of gloss over that.
Yep. Put some sealer on that. That old sneaker. All right, let's see what's up. This I found extremely interesting. I cannot wait to get your take on this, Steve.
Okay, I'm going to step away for just a minute,
ahead.
but I'll listen on my phone. I'll be right back.
Okay, sweetie.
Since the beginning, Hollywood celebrities have been very good to us on this show. We don't plug their movies and rarely get around to talking with them about their art or their talent. We simply ask them if anything extraordinary has happened in their lives that they'd like to tell us about. And that is how we came by this story. Take a mirror. Any kind of mirror will do. Place it against a black background in a darkened room. Light a candle and position it so that all reflection in the room is blocked out and you are only looking into the mirror's blank, dark reflection. Gaze into it for a while. You might get to talk with and see the ghost of a departed friend or loved one. Before we dismiss this idea, we should know that the mirror trick is an essential part of experimentation being done by a lot of scientifically minded people, including this man.
Powerfully affected and changed.
Dr. Raymond Moody is regarded as the world's leading authority on the paranormal and afterlife experiences. His books include Life After Life, which sold 10 million, and Reunions, visionary encounters with departed loved ones. But it's not until you meet the man that you appreciate Dr. Moody is not just a theorist and writer. He's a practicing communicator with the dead, and that is where the mirror comes in. We heard about it while visiting one of Dr. Moody's weekend seminars in Delray Beach, Florida. Dr. Moody, in turn, learned about the mirror trick from the ancient Greeks.
It would be quite possible, I thought, to replicate at least one part of the near-death experience, namely the part in which people seem to see relatives or friends of theirs who have passed on, by a method which was well known in the ancient world, of evocation of the departed or evocation of spirits, which was practiced among other places at a wonderful institution called the Oracle of the Dead at Ephora, which was in the far northwest corner of Greece, a huge underground complex with corridors and passageways and dormitory rooms where people would stay, all opening out into a 50-foot-long central apparition hallway in which the archaeologists found the remnants of an enormous bronze cauldron. They were highly polishing the inside of this big cauldron, filling it up with water, and there in the complete darkness underground, lit only by the flickering flames, no doubt, of lamps, would cast a diffuse illumination. That would have made quite a spectacular mirror. And so I surmised that the apparitions were being seen by mirror gazing in the surface of that water.
Long before he heard about the Greeks, Dr. Moody had been experimenting with spirit evocation using mirrors.
When we gaze into an optical clear depth, which is the experience that you have when you're looking into a mirror when there are no reflections, but you're just seeing off into an infinite distance, or when you gaze into a clear pond and where there's no debris in the water and no reflections and no distracting objects in the water. Or, as we see in the cartoons, in a crystal ball, that we can see images of a certain very extraordinary kind. Images not like the mental imagery that we see, which seems to have no particular location in space when we try to visualize something, but no, really quite vivid, three-dimensional images, typically very beautifully colored, which seem to move across or through the optical clear depth. And it's not too surprising, I think, that our ancestors in remote times, in prehistoric times and so on, would have decided that this was a paranormal phenomenon and that what was happening was that they were seeing into the spirit realm. Quite a number of creative figures, painters and poets and novelists and so on, have used this technique of mirror gazing to get their creative inspiration for stories or to devise inventions, as Thomas Edison did. And so I created an apparition chamber in my own research facility by putting a mirror on the wall and surrounding it by a black velvet curtain to exclude reflections, putting a very comfortable chair in there below the mirror and with a light behind it, so that the subjects gazing upward into the mirror would not see any reflections, but would simply be seeing off into an infinite distance, as it were. And to my surprise, it worked a lot better than I had anticipated. Found very quickly that about 50 to 70% of the subjects under those conditions do, in fact, have quite extraordinary experiences. One very typical thing that occurs is that they say they see the apparition forming off in the distance, like at a distance in the mirror, that it comes forward and actually emerges from the mirror into the cubicle where they are. It stands or sits right in front of them, full color, quite dimensional, full size, and in 30% of the cases it's quite audible. The subjects actually report hearing the voice of the deceased person. One of the most common things people tell you who are bereaved is, if I only had 5 more minutes. And that's what these encounters typically are, saying those things that were left unsaid and patching up the relationship, smoothing over those rough spots, saying goodbye, saying I love you, and that kind of thing.
Well, there you go. I'll tell you what, I think that's a trip. And I wanted to put that on here tonight and get everybody's ideas on it. And I've been reading the stuff in the chat and trying to keep up with it. And I was trying to do it in order. And this is the thing. This reminds me so much of, in the olden days, looking in the well, a bowl of water. A lot of people call it scrying, where you use like a really dark mirror in a dark room and maybe just a candle and you just stare into it. Now, I'm kind of excited thinking about it too, because now I don't know whether I'd want to do it or not. I have like hesitations because I don't like to open up everything. With me, I'm always trying to shut everything down, put big locks on the doors and trying just to get through, because when you're an empath, especially with all the stuff going on now, it's like most of the time you're just trying to, not till I'm ready, and you have to be prepared and really concentrate. And so going to look for it like this is a little off-putting for me. So I would need like definitely, to think about it before I did it. But I hear a lot of people do it and really, really like it under the conditions. And it's almost a form of meditation and grounding in a way. You can look at it that way as well, because you're in a dark place and you're sitting in front of this mirror. Now, just imagine this. In a scrying room, which is what Dave Haney and he has some rooms there at the Hoover House in Waynesboro, the one we were talking about last night. And he's taking a room in the attic and he's building a scrying room. So we were just talking about this. And, all the walls will be black, everything will be black velvet, very dark, no windows, no light source whatsoever, just a mirror and a chair. That's it. And it's a lot to take in for me, but I'm wondering how you guys feel about that. What would you do that? Would you consider sitting in a room like that? We've all seen the shows do, like how many paranormal shows have we seen where people lock themselves in to just say a cell at Alcatraz, or I've seen them do, and I would never do this, but just getting in a coffin and closing the lid and trying to get evidence that way, or get a result that way, or just a reaction, whatever you want to call it. Would you go that far? This is how, in a way, this is what I'm trying to say, Donnie. Me too. Because I just don't want to open that door and just, invite so much. To me, it's like Ouija board on steroids. I don't know. Oh, you would do it? You would do it, Lindsay? Okay, cool. See, now, Lindsay, are you looking at it more like it's a meditation, grounding, connection kind of thing? Are you looking at it like that? Or, see, to me, it's almost, I guess I'm looking on the wrong side of it, because I always look at Ouija boards this way. But I was trained early. If you read the story about my first Ouija board experience, I was trained early to, I don't think I was being told never touch this, but at least proceed with caution. You know what I mean? That's the feeling I got. Like, whoa, I'm not ready for this. This is something I have to, not jump deep end first in. I learned to respect, but that's the way we were taught everything. The woods, spirit, anything to do with spirit, magic, prayer, anything I had to do with energy and nature and your place in it, respect. So who else would do it? Let's see here. What do we got? Past lives. Okay, wait a minute. I think I missed something, guys. It's hard. I'm so sorry. This chat's going so fast. Well, Johnny and his hot babe goes, well, this is it. If you would, no, me either, Anne. So many people have done that, for paranormal. Not only that, but a couple of stars come to mind that did it before making a movie to get into a character or whatever. Let's see what Steve, here he comes. I hear him. Did you hear all that, Steve?
Yeah, I did.
We want to know, what's your take on mirrors? What do you want to say on this? Jump in here.
I had a really interesting experience when I was a kid.
Here we go.
I'd read in Fate magazine, which that's one of those things you read when you were a kid.
I love Fate. I loved it. It's
one
part
of
of
the
my
few
childhood.
Paranormal, monthly paranormal things you could get. And I'd read about a psychomantium.
Yep.
Where you put one mirror apart from another and you create a portal. Well, a friend of mine, his parents owned a glass company.
Oh.
And one of the things they sold was mirrors, like these big mirrors that you put in your bathroom. So I told him about it. He said, hey, let's do it. So we went in their warehouse on a weekend when there was nobody there. We took 8 mirrors and arranged them in an octagon. And all the lights around. This is a warehouse without fluorescent lights on. It was pitch black in there. We lit one candle, put it in there with us, used a chair to climb over into this thing. And there was stuff in there with us. There was stuff moving around. There was shadows. There was things that weren't there that were there. And there's no telling what we opened up just goofing around as kids. But it scared us so bad we dismantled it and swore we'd never do anything like that again.
That stuff will make an impression. I'm telling you. It will. And, you try to describe to people, I don't want to tell people not to do this, because I'm not saying that. It could be an actual beautiful experience. The way Dr. Moody is describing it, to the point where, Steve, you're sitting there and they actually almost, it feels like they come out of the mirror, he says, and like sit down in front of you. I mean, who wouldn't want that experience? However, as much as we feel we want to have that experience, not everybody's ready to have that experience. Yeah. If you ask me on
that
given
warehouse
any given
to this
Sunday,
day probably still has activity in there because things happened after that. The lights would go on and off, doors would open and close. We definitely opened a few portals, I believe.
And this is us. This is us as kids. I mean,
Yeah.
gosh, I know it too.
Didn't know
I
any
did
better
stuff
than
too.
to not do it. Like, hey, look what I found in here. Let's do
In
this.
cemeteries, getting those
Okay,
books out
instead
of the
of 2
library.
mirrors, let's use 8. We'll make a super portal. And boy, we did.
Oh God, the stuff that we did. I can remember standing in the cemetery, holding the book, reading it, and all my friends following along, and we're doing this stuff like crazy people. Lord knows what we did. Those poor people that we were standing over, I don't know who they were. I can't certainly go back and do anything about it. I don't even remember where it was anymore. But gosh, I never did. There was something about mirrors that just always not creeped me out, but again, I guess that respect thing, because there's
Yeah.
the old things where in a
Well,
lot of
when somebody
things
dies,
you covered them.
you cover the mirror, and that was to keep them from getting
Yeah.
caught in the mirror so they could
And
grow on.
I know in last trip to Gettysburg, going down that hallway, everybody kept coming up to me. Will you take a walk down the hallway and see what's going on? We're feeling weird energy. Well, I knew right away where it was coming from, because they had great big mirrors. It's a big hotel, so they have huge mirrors. I mean, the size of a living room wall.
Yep.
And then there's another one across the way, and another one, and another one. So it's zigzag. All that energy is just ricocheting back and forth in these mirrors. And I'm like, well, here's 90% of your problem,
Yeah.
And we did pick up that EVP. That's where my son picked up his very first time he ever tried to get one. Got like a Class A EVP so good you can tell in 2 words that it's 2 separate personalities, 2 different aged girls, and you can tell in the inflection in the way the girl says it what she means behind it. Just the way she goes, no, and it's like she's just no, like kind of shaking her. You can almost see her doing it. It's that good, and it's. I think it had something to do with the mirrors, Steve. I really do.
There's
And
an energy there. Definitely.
oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't think when you see something like a custom like that, it's not one religion, it's not one culture, it's several different cultures either covering a mirror or turning it over. Some won't have them at all. I mean, even Native Americans, when you look back, I think they believed like a picture, it was almost like it took part of your soul.
Yep.
You've
Good
heard
night,
that
Bubbles.
about. Good night, Bubbles. Thanks for coming in. Thank you so much. But they didn't want your picture taken because it was kind of like selling your soul. Took a part of your soul. They didn't understand it. It was different culture. So there's something about mirrors everywhere. But I thought it was interesting when he was talking about that cauldron. Did you get to see the picture of that? It was a great cauldron, just like going back. This is archaeologists discovered this, and he thought that that's what they were doing, filling it with water. It was in a room that had no light, so they're sitting. He thought that that's part of their ritual. They were scrying in the water. So I don't think it's just mirror. I think it's anything that may reflect back. Think about televisions as well with white noise. How many spirits? Oh, it's Mulder. Hello,
wants to
sugar
say hi.
baby. Hi. Hello, Mr. Man. How are you? Oh my goodness, he's so put out. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
How's
he's
he
like,
doing?
put me down. He's doing good. He's been
good.
outside today.
Such a buddy. He's one of those special fur babies that are just above and beyond best friend. It's like, I love that. I miss
Best
my
friend,
husband.
constant companion,
Yep.
right hand man.
Like Mr. Dickens. I'm surprised he's not up here. But they're just, they have such human qualities, at least, all the good ones. Like, when they're put out by us, or he'll come and get me and tell me it's time to go to bed. What are you still doing up?
Yeah, Mulder
He's-
wakes me up.
Yeah.
The poor little guy, he didn't know it, but I've had gout for the past couple of days.
Oh, honey, I'm sorry.
And this morning he came and jumped on my ankle, and I screamed. Not at him, I just screamed out.
Oh, yeah.
But he felt so bad. He came and started licking me. He's like, I'm sorry, I didn't
I'm
mean to
sorry,
hurt
I
you.
didn't mean to hurt you. They mean it. See, that's I think they're here to show us unconditional love. You know what I mean? And they understand when we're hurt, and they understand many things before we do. It's crazy, it really is.
Yeah.
Animals are something else. But well, there it is on mirrors and reincarnation, and I know he's gone on to do so many things.
And I love
On
listening to Dr. Moody. He's from Georgia, so he's got that just right Southern accent, and just he can sell ice cubes to Eskimos. I
Yep.
love listening to him, and the fact
So
that he
easygoing.
has a lot of spirituality in there. And that Life
A lot
After
of
Life, I
wisdom.
think, was his book from '75, the bestseller there that really brought the whole idea of the NDE into a popular framework.
He did, and I did not know that he had coined the phrase on it. I'm going to do some more
I
digging on
think
him.
he did. Now that may not be 100% accurate, but I know
Yeah,
he
I
was
don't
one of
know
the
for
first
sure.
ones to write about it.
Everybody, fact check us.
Yeah,
Fact check us and
that's
let
just
us know.
off the top of my head, but I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure Life
we
After
don't
Life
know.
was the name of the book, 1975.
And he did more than he had a lot of books, didn't he? He's
Oh
still
yeah,
going. I hate
he's
to
still
not know.
alive. I want to say he's in his 70s. Let me just look
Wow,
him
wow,
up
wow,
here,
wow. Yeah, let me
and we'll
know.
see.
Because I was just kind of reintroduced to him. I mean, you think being in the paranormal all this time, I'd know more, but there's so many people, guys. And there's people that you follow, people that you sync with, and then people that challenge you to help you grow, and have maybe you don't agree with, but you kind of, let me take in that information anyway, So, but there's so many people, and they ebb and flow. But he's always been around. I'm just
Yeah,
not
he's a
an
real
expert.
doctor. He has an MD and is
Hmm.
also a forensic psychiatrist.
Hmm.
Um, Born June 30th, 1944, Porterdale, Georgia. He's 77 years old and still going.
Bless his heart.
Um, Most widely known for his books about afterlife and near-death experiences, a term that he coined, the NDE, in 1975 in his best-selling book, Life After Life. So that was pretty good just off the top of my head. I remembered most of it.
Yeah, see, we don't do too bad for a couple old folk. Just, but that's it. There's so much information on him. He's still doing lectures. I know he's involved with the whole Gaia thing and all that, but it's just the way he puts it out, and it meshes with all the other stuff that the others that we've sunk, that we've been in sync with throughout all this. We've kind of grown, like we said, we've kind of grown.
Sink, sank, sunk.
Sink,
There you
sank,
go.
sunk, yeah. And grew up in all this, and so is a lot of the people listening tonight, and we've gathered all this information. And you think about that, it's funny how you can think about sitting in that scrying room. Like, look what happened to you. You knew there was things moving around in there.
Yeah,
So
and
many of
we
these
didn't
stories.
think about doing that. Just there's the article in Fate was how to do it. It didn't give any ramifications, or it
Yeah,
was just talked about as a form of scrying, and that they did this in other cultures to have visions and yada yada yada. And my friend, he was easy to talk into stuff, so I'm like, hey, let's try this. And, okay, my parents have got a bunch of mirrors, so there you go. And
well, see,
but
that's it.
it
Like,
truly
especially
scared us. Like I
if
said,
you're
there
in
was
that kind
stuff
of dark.
moving in there, pitch black, except for the
Yeah,
one candle. We're both sitting in this
no,
octagon of mirrors.
no.
There was stuff in there with us.
Mm-mm, mm-mm. I've got the willies just thinking about it. That's it. To me, being in a dark room like that, not being able to see anything, not shadows, nothing. It's like being in the water,
We're
in
being
a
in a
situation
cave,
like this,
being
because you're,
underground like that
yeah,
without any light. That'd be the most frightening
mm,
thing.
mm,
Imagine
mm.
being in a cave and your light goes out or your glow stick runs out or whatever. You have to
That's it.
feel your way along and try to
That's
remember
it.
how you got in there to find your way
Oh,
back out.
stop it. Oh
Oh,
my
I couldn't
God.
stand that.
In a dark cave, completely dark like that, and you're underwater.
Ugh.
I've actually heard that story. It was mind blowing. It was on the Joe Rogan show, and I cannot remember the guy he had on, but he was also. I want. I can't ever remember the call letters for it, but the hardcore wrestling, where they get in there and almost kill each other, just blood everywhere in like the first seconds. They're in behind.
Steel
Wire fence.
cage, death
Yeah, yeah,
match.
yeah, 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 that kind of stuff. But anyway, he was one of those grapplers. But anyway, he's also a diver, and he was diving in caves in the situation we're talking about. everything is just dark except whatever this little light he had, and his oxygen, something happened. And he's got to like talk himself into not dying. And he tells the whole story. Oh my gosh, it was incredible. I was losing it listening to this story. That's ultra claustrophobic. You can never catch me
The one
doing
that
that
got
shit.
me, do you remember the one
Ever.
about the scouts that were stuck in a cave in Thailand?
Yes,
They
not too
went in the
long
cave,
ago.
and then the tide brought the ocean in. They got trapped in there. They had to send in divers to take these kids out, and they could only take them out like one at a time. They had a
Yep.
doctor that dove with them that would sedate the kids so
Oh
they
my
could
God.
bring them out. Oh man, that
Oh,
gives me
what a
the
story.
willies even to
What a
think about.
story. That was not too long ago. Does
Now, just
everybody remember that?
say
That was
two or 3
crazy.
years ago, they made a movie about it.
Did they? I didn't see the movie. I mean, I remember seeing it. It was on headlines, and I pretty much got it from the front of the papers and catching on YouTube and stuff like that, because that's where you find the real stuff, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, that was insane. It was something about the tides and the length of the swim and everything else. Yeah, wait, yeah. Donnie, really, he was a scuba diver. It's an insane story about, I can't get all the details for sure, but because I'm not a diver, I don't understand the oxygen tanks, but he was having a hard time. And he had one of those moments where everything just started to go and everything just went clear and he knew exactly what to do. And it was one of those moments for him, but you would never catch me. We in Alabama, a lot of people used to go splunking, used to go through these caves, and they used to squeeze through these little tight spaces. That's why I put that in cabin 22, because it freaks me out. And you squeeze through to get to the bigger opening and see that keep that hard no, absolutely
Yeah,
not.
I've known people that was
No.
prolonged cruise, and they talk about places where you literally had to wiggle through and keep your arms by your sides and just an inch at a time. I'm like, nope, 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 nope. I have nightmares of being trapped under something that's collapsed or in a wooden structure or something. I think in a previous life, I died in a mine cave in or something, because
Yeah,
I have
no.
claustrophobic nightmares about being trapped in some place that thinking, well, I got under here, but now I can't get out.
Yeah, oh gosh, no. Oh, stop. These are horrible things, but like I said about the room, I'm excited that they're building that, because I think that's a great thing for Dave, because I can see somebody like that. Now, Dave wouldn't mind me saying this, or I won't say anything he wouldn't want me to say, but Dave has very being that he's was a soldier for so long and he did many tours, and he's seen some things and he's gone through his journey had some hard lefts in it, let's just put it that way. And he's in touch with also the paranormal and the supernatural and that connection, so he knows kind of what he's dealing with negativity, but he also has some of his own that he's dealing with, which is why they're drawn to him in the first place, if you catch my drift, because it's true, what you put out, you receive back. And he's able to deal with that because his good side is so good too. It's truly amazing to watch. But he's excited about being in this room because he wants to deal with those things head on, which I think is extremely brave. And if he needs any help, I will be right there outside of that door cheering him on. I don't mean to say it like that, but he knows what I mean. If he wants to do that, but I think the opposite is true too. You could go in there wanting what Dr. Moody's talking about and just going in there with a different intent, and it could be a completely different experience. Do you think that's possible, Steve?
I think so. Yeah, I think a lot of it's personalization, even though a lot of people do have similar experiences in a lot of things in the paranormal. I think there's some unique parts to it, and then some shared parts or common parts.
Absolutely, and I think that the kind of theme, it's kind of accidental theme here, but it just kind of came to me the way the NDEs and the scrying in the mirrored rooms. What did they call the psychomantium again?
Psychomantium, yeah.
Yep. So all of that it's really what you take in there with you, right, Steve? It really
Yeah, it's
is
like the
taking.
Randonautica intent where you give, or the Randonautica app where you give an intent and
Mm-hmm.
then you focus on that intent and that's what you get.
That is really cool because I came across a story and it was really, really cool. It was popped up out of nowhere about 3 days ago on my feed. And it was a Scottish gentleman in a full kilt and everything else, walking out of the ruins of a castle. It couldn't have been more perfect, right? And he's telling this story, and I'll see if I can get it right for you because it fits. It fits with what we just said. There's two dogs. This guy, the soul beggar, sees two dogs go into walk into the, I guess, the ruins of a castle. Goes into this room, and the one dog that looked kind of sad and everything else and kind of went in all sluggish, he came out and he came out really angry. And the other dog came out right behind him and the other dog came out all happy.
Mm.
And he wondered what in the world could be in this room where two dogs would come out so different. And he went in the room and went around the corner. He looked, it was a room full of mirrors. And so the old beggar man kind of came to the deduction that, well, I guess you get whatever you take in is what you get back, because they just saw a reflection of themselves. So if you go into these things in a, in a angry or aggressive, full of anxiety mood, that's what you're going to get, and that's the kind of people you're going to get. But if you try to be pleasant and at least try to be the best you, I mean, these days it's hard,
Well,
but try to be
the
happy and
Bible
stuff.
says you have the power of life and death in your tongue. You have what you confess. It's like these
Yep.
people that get up like, oh man, this is going to be a real shit day. I can
Yep.
already tell. You've already claimed it for yourself. That's what's going to happen because you've set yourself up for it.
And
I
negative
believe in
stuff
that to
starts
a degree.
happening.
You can
Absolutely.
manifest the wrong thing just based on your attitude. So be careful what you wish to yourself.
It's true. And, I think we all slip. I do all day long. But if you can pull yourself back and remind yourself just to try to pull, okay, kind of, stop and regroup, But I think it's an amazing thing because it seems, once again, it's all tied in, Steve. Because whether it's the mirrors, you're looking in a water bowl or a crystal ball like I've got behind me. Mine doesn't have any like spirits in it or nothing. It's just an old one from the Home Goods, but it's the same thing. If you stared at it long enough, I mean, we've all heard stuff. Staring at tea leaves, or reading coffee grounds, or spit. I mean, how many old wives stuff you heard? Did your grandma ever read anything like
Yeah.
that?
Oh yeah, she read coffee grounds, tea leaves,
Yeah,
animal
see?
entrails. She practiced phrenology, which she could tell you stuff by the
Yep.
bumps on your head.
Yep.
Read palms.
And it's nuts.
There's all kinds of things like that. If you know what to look for
Mm-hmm.
and how to interpret it, you can get messages from anything just about.
Mm-hmm. And I can't tell you how many stories as a girl I heard about either, staring into the well and you'll see, your true love coming down the lane. I believe that was even in, oh man, snap. That was in that movie. All right, chat, you're gonna have to help me now. Okay. She's a redhead. She was married to Tom Cruise. Okay.
Nicole
And
Kidman.
yes, thank you. And she was in a movie about a mountain. Cold Mountain. Is that the name of the movie? They did it in that movie. They did the whole well thing where she had to do a thing and spit and turn around and I don't know whatever she had to do, and looked in and she saw him walking down the road. Does anybody remember that?
I don't think I ever saw it.
You ain't never gonna get Cold Mountain. Do you guys remember that? It'll come up here in chat.
Excuse me.
There's a delay, so it'll come up in the chat here in a minute. But, yep. No, not Eyes Wide Shut. That's a totally different movie. They were doing some things in that movie. There's more truth in that movie than people want to believe, too. I'm here to tell you. And the really, really bad stuff they cut out. Does anybody know that? They cut about 23 minutes out of that movie, and Stanley Kubrick wanted to put it out there and tell some truths, and they cut it out, and he mysteriously died of a heart attack days after that. I'm not saying anything's going on there, but it's a bit sus. What do y'all think? Oh, you remember that, Aunt Edna? Cool. We lost Steve. I bet you the book was better. Oh, God, it was a hell of a movie, though. I really, I like the way they put it together. I'll never forget the fence scene where they were jumping on that guy's fingers, man. People can be so evil to each other. I mean, golly. Second thought, don't watch it, Steve. There's scenes in that movie you'll never forget. But I did like the way they put it together, I have to say, and I'm not a big fan. My favorite Nicole Kidman movie is Practical Magic. I bet everybody else is here, too. That's an excellent, excellent movie. And I was just thinking about that one a couple of days ago, too, and I was thinking, I'd honestly have to say that everything you saw in that movie is 100% possible. The only thing I would have to say I'd have to take pause on is the roses growing as fast as they did over the dead body. But other than that, 100% possible. From the stuff I've seen, because I've seen some stuff, man. I mean, you don't want to get involved. I know everybody. Steve's heard my story about the time I got unwillingly and quite accidentally in between and involved in a fight between two left-handed witches on Halloween. I kid you not. It was an experience. And I mean, they were throwing stuff back and forth at each other, and I kept getting caught in it. And her ex-husband was calling me up from the other side, leaving messages on my phone. And I mean, it was crazy. The whole thing ended with her putting her dead ex-husband in a beer bottle and putting it in a box and chuck it in a lake. It was insanity, but it's a long story. So, but it was a trip. But there's stuff, But the one thing you got to know is just everything we're talking about tonight is intent. You go in with good intent, I think you're going to get some good results. Even if you go in with good intent, you still run the risk of having something more negative that does, that's got its own agenda.
The road to hell is paved with good intentions. So.
There you go. There you go. Right on, Steve. So, that's possible. That's why I'm hesitant. I don't want to just go in and open up everything, because that's the same way I would look at a Ouija board or walking into, for me, like an old broken down hospital or an insane asylum. I won't do it. An orphanage, for that matter, an animal shelter. I mean, just with so much grief and
just go in there and they're looking you in the eyes, saying, "Please take me out of here. Please take me home."
Chaos.
Can't handle an animal shelter. I want to take everything in there with me.
Chaos. It's worse than a mall. I think that's worse. And then malls and sometimes diners.
Children's hospital is a bad place.
Oh gosh, so bad, And then there's places that you think would be awful that aren't, such as maybe a cemetery or a funeral parlor, or it's really, really strange. But if you really think back and you just think, I mean, you stop for a second, you think it's energy, it makes sense, and why, positive draws positive and negative draws negative, whether it's your day, your words, how you carry yourself, or sitting in one of these rooms with the mirror, the way Dr. Moody explains it, it's so beautiful, and he's excited about it. And I look at it and I'm horrified. In some ways, I would like to think about it like that, but for me, that's why I'm so interested in anybody in the chat that's willing to do it, that would do it. Lindsay said she would. I always think everybody I see on TV doing stuff like that's crazy. I mean, getting in these morgues and laying in the drawers and closing them and laying in there with a microphone, and then they're surprised when something grabs them or they hear a sound and then they're out, or even laying in the beds of, Lizzie Borden house or something, and, turning all the lights out, and just, I don't know. It's just, you're asking for trouble if you ask me.
Sean G, thanks for the comment there. We'll offer up love, light, and prayer. The
Absolutely.
person that's in an ATV accident in a coma on life support.
Oh, no. Oh, gosh. Absolutely. Send that out. Did we get a name or just sending it that way?
Looks like G. Tracy.
Oh, here it is. I got it right here. Everybody send your energy that way, however you so deem fit. Send it that way. It does help. Absolutely. Send it to the family, too, to give them strength, because it's hard times when somebody you care about's hurt. Trust me on that one. Hope you never find out.
Okay,
If
it
you're
says
not.
her name is Gracie.
There we go. Love, light, and healing prayers, Gracie. Right to you. Thank you. Absolutely. So Aunt Edna says no way she would do that. You know, and I think Aunt Edna too, because abilities, that's what I was trying to explain before. Is when you have abilities, it's almost like, especially in these times, you're using so much of your energy to just block it off. You know, block everything out and just try to deal with what you have to deal with, you know. And I think we often forget how to stop for a minute and reground. So
Yep.
everybody do that. If you want to throw up some ideas of how you ground, I mean, you hugging trees, are you drinking a lot more 100 proof vodka, add a little bit extra to your Diet Coke, or are you doing crystals? We were talking about that last night, how we, you know, some of us gals every once in a while, you might never know, we might have crystals in our bras. So, you know, it happens, doesn't it? So I gotta tell you, you know, you stick them all around when you're going in and into certain places. I mean, why not? You know, I mean, whatever's going to help. You put lavender, dried lavender in your pockets. Does everybody know that one? It creates a clearer pathway to communicating with spirit. Dried lavender in your pockets or in your, you know, you can put it in a little those little sachet bags. You stick it in your bra. You guys can stick it in your pocket. But all those things, you know, wearing iron bracelets on your left hand, you know, to ward off negativity, because that's how you draw it. All of these things they're all connected because it's energy, and it's all connected in the conversation because it all has to do with your intent. And we keep compartmentalizing all these things, even right down to Bigfoot or UFOs, to where people argue about it at conventions. When, if you back up and think it might all be connected, and ghosts and interdimensionals and everything else, even us, we're all connected, right? Donnie, tell me what's the percentage of people living right now? Donnie's going to know this one too, I bet you. Genghis Khan, you know what I'm talking about? That's how connected we are. How many years has this been? And there's still this blood type out there that you can connect back to him, and trying to basically spread his seed throughout the globe. Well, he did pretty good.
Yeah.
They did pretty damn good. And that just right there, that little tidbit tells people how connected we are and how very separated we are. And I think if you go back, I heard a story, and I'll end tonight with this. A man had an NDE, and he went in through his experience, to his light, and he was getting information, and it was one that came back with information, much like our friend Sean, and he's been writing his NDE for a long time, and the reason is, it was very profound and very detailed, and he wants to get it right. He wants to get every word correct. And I understand that and respect that. Steve and I have done the same thing when we write our books, or experienced it, because we want you to understand what happened. You know, we don't know what's important to you, so we don't want to lose it, you know, forget anything. Well, this man came back and explained that his higher spirit, whoever he was talking to, was explaining to him that it's difficult for them to watch us here because we have such angst with each other. We have such short tempers. This guy here, this one over here, they're different there, they're different there. We can't get that straight. And it's so simple because we're all of the same place. We're all connected. We are all of each other. And that's a lot of the information that people are bringing back in these NDEs, that we're all connected, not just us, but in other galaxies and other dimensions, and it's just different forms and different evolutions. Many, that are beyond us in the future, and some that are behind us as well, that aren't caught up yet. It's an amazing concept to think about. And maybe if we all realized that, we would think like Daniel Brinkley, who got actually hit with lightning 3 times, died 3 times, came back 3 times, and took the 3rd time to come back and say, I'm going to hug everybody I see, and I'm not hugging you, I'm hugging me.
Yeah.
So when I get back, I get all those hugs and all that love. So if you're not, think about, we're not so much doing it for the other person, if that helps. We're doing it for us, and maybe we'll be kinder. And it's a really wild concept to think about, that we have pieces of us going off and creating harm. But if you realize that and you're aware, then you can create good where you're standing here. To maybe you can't completely outdo that, but you can at least balance it. So think about that, and I think dig into Dr. Moody a little bit. I think he's got a lot to teach us, Steve. What do you think?
Yep. Very fascinating individual. Love his books.
Yep.
I'd love to hear him talk too.
Yep, and maybe you guys will see a sneaker sometime. Well, this has been fun, guys. Tell us what you're doing, Steve.
Missing Persons and Mysteries, always something going on over there. Just a few minutes ago, we passed 196,000 subscribers. Got
without even looking.
end of the month, Memorial Day, not Memorial Day weekend, but right after Memorial Day, I'm going up to Mount Rainier to film some stuff for the channel. And then there in August, Paris, Tennessee, first annual Dogman Cryptid Conference. And you see some luminaries there: Ken Gerhard, Josh Turner, Ron Murphy, Nick Redfern, Bettina Moss, Barton Nunley, Nick Valente, Jody Cook, Tony Merkel, J. Vault Tucker, Kenny Irish, the punk cryptozoologist, Elijah Henderson, David Weatherly, the Black Eyed Kids guy. He loves it when you tell him that.
He loves that.
He actually hates it. He's written so many other books, but everybody calls him that.
Yep.
Kumbo Baker and D.A. Roberts. It'll be a lot of fun. The VIP is already sold out.
Sounds
Friday
amazing.
night, if you got lucky enough to get VIP tickets, get to have dinner with all of us and a little eat and greet. And then Sunday or Saturday is the show.
Hey, Sasha Bell.
Oh, Brian Bowden says he's going to be there. Awesome, Brian. Look forward to meeting you and hanging out with you. And Sandy's going to be with me. We'll have a table in the vendor room, going to be selling some books and some merchandise. Bill Melder, the other half of Missing Persons and Mysteries, is maybe going to be there if he's not too shy. He's going to be there signing books with us. He co-wrote 2 with me. But if not, I'll have some that he's already signed, and then I'll sign them for you too. And then in October, I can't remember the exact date. I want to say the 13th again. Auburn, Washington.
Oh, yeah.
Green River Conference Center. That's the Green River serial killers hunting grounds up there, Gary Ridgway. I'll be there for the Pacific Northwest True Crime Fest.
That's going to be great. I'm loving it.
That's a 2-day event. They're expecting at least 1,500. Maybe they can accommodate as many as 5,000. So that's going to be a hell of a conference. And
I'm looking forward to this new channel too, this new true crime channel.
Yeah,
and Sir Bowden wants to do a remote viewing show with us, so that sounds like a great idea, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yep. But yeah, coming up just very shortly, True Crime Case Files. Steve Stockton's True Crime Case Files. That's a mouthful. Sounds like one of your titles.
You're getting like me now.
And,
that's great. Yep, Donnie likes that idea.
Tara,
too.
that's here in the chat, or was here in the chat, she's going to help me with some of the narration duties
that's
over there.
That's going to be great. Can't
she's
wait to meet her.
She's got a wonderful voice. She's a voiceover artist, has a lot of experiences, and she's been in, I think, 17 different movies and TV shows. But if you've ever seen My Friend Dahmer, she's in that. She's on the DVD or the Blu-ray cover.
That is just awesome.
So
That is just awesome. Go get him, Aunt Edna. Keep going. Love you, Lindsay. Thank you, everybody, for being in here tonight. Thanks for making this chat one of the best, absolutely, on YouTube. Please share it out. Please, that's the way you can help the show. It doesn't cost a penny. Just share it out. If you've got friends that like the paranormal or whatever, get them over there. Let's get some extra people in this chat. Let's kind of talk about all this stuff and help each other along the way, because wow, what a concept. If we really all are part of each other, that's pretty cool, and we can understand a little bit more. But we got to get our other selves under control in some cases, don't we?
yeah, maybe just a little bit.
A little bit, man, a little bit. But love you all. Thank you, gatekeepers. Thank you to our fantastic mods, and we will see you back here.
That was the old sneakers show. Frog, I'm not talking about you. But good night, everyone. Thank you for being here. Amy, special good night to you. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Everybody else, I'll see you a little further on down the trail.
Absolutely, absolutely. Enjoy the journey, everybody. That's what we're supposed to do. And all our gatekeepers in here are doing great jobs, helping to guide other people along the way too. And, it's just fantastic that we're doing this. And I thank you guys for being here. See you next Monday. Keep your feet under the covers. Keep your closet door shut, because there are things that go bump in the night. Love you, Steve. Good night, baby.
Love you too, Cisco.